Mm. Mm, mm, mm. 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 Well, good morning, good afternoon. Here we are 58 seconds into the show. Um, mm. What's going on? Anyone got an idea? Okay. Mm. We have this guy.
I tried to fly back to Virginia. I was at the airport for a few hours or something, including the Uber drive there. I was only at the airport for an hour or two. They had good stuff going all the way down here, rush on the road. There's something about the yellow cabs and the Ubers that was like an insider way of making money. And I had to do God's work.
God's work. Oh, yeah. Hey, buddy. What's the name? Dark journalist on JFK. Exotic Tech. Yes. Isn't that guy cool? I mean, he's got a ton of shows. He has really good people on. Joseph P. Powell, Captain Austin Fitz, Jordan Maxwell, just to name a few. So, you know, when he gets into the esoteric, the occult, everything, right? I'm doing well. I'm always well. Well, the secret to financially being secure is don't spend money you don't have, right? Now, you and I can do that, but our government, because we have a Federal Reserve, a central bank owned by corporations, not by people. In 1972, Richard Nixon basically sold us down the river and basically got rid of the gold, off the gold standard. And the thing that backs up our debt is you and me. We sold into slavery. Remember, I did that. Go check out Jordan Maxwell. So, James, did you? I didn't watch the Dark Journalist show. What were the top 3 things that you went, whoa? Thanks. I feel well. I mean, I keep telling people. I mean, my doctor's cuss. This last few weeks, right before Thanksgiving, I always get a full Monty 3 times a year. I got totally worked out, blood work, everything. Right? And then I go by for 4 months without really. I go visit my one doctor, my general doctor. I don't even see him. I see his nurse. His nurse is so much better than he is. Hey, David. Jordan, yep. Jordan Marks was a great place to start, right? David, can you enlighten us? Can you tell us about, people don't even know, when you go into a courtroom, if you've ever been in a courtroom for a car thing or any kind of legal thing, there's 2 American flags. One, your basic American flags, red, white, and blue. There's one red, white, and blue with gold trim around it, right? And that represents the state-sponsored fascist mercantilism of something more. Admiralty law. That's it, admiralty law. And that was set up by basically, the Babylonians, right? Babylonian bankers. Right? Mm, yep. Yep. Bill Cooper. So Bill, I knew pretty well. I mean, back in the 80s, well, from 72 to 92, I was a art party linger. Art party lingo, no. Art party, art party, something cultural provocateur. Art party leader? No. Art party something. Anyway, I would have these art parties, salons. I really liked the French salon idea. And when I was in my teens, I used to go to Lisette Model and Cartier-Bresson's salon in their apartment on Fifth Avenue, overlooking Washington Square. And she had seen some of my work, and so she invited me to this photo salon. And every week we go there, and they'd have really yummy stuff. And the folks who were there were all photographers, mostly Magnum photographers. Gary Winograd, Colton Braithwaite, and these two guys were pretty good friends of my first wife, Donna Ann. So anyway, we would go there, and we would have to have 10 prints, right? And we would critique. And critique isn't say, "Oh, that sucks." Critique is like looking at everything about it, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, right? Not just the negative stuff. And that's what's missing in our cultural dialogue, is that we aren't critiquing things, right? Oh, that sucks. We got to get over this, all the above. Everyone's in their little silos. And I told you that story back in 2015 when I was the cultural provocateur. Yes, that was what I was doing in First Christian's Church, right? Big church downtown, right next to City Hall, right next to Oakey's Funeral Home, right next to the Red Cross, right next to Channel 10, right? And I, right across the street from the police, right? And so basically that church had been it was around for almost 200 years, and it was a beautiful big church, had a pipe organ. It was really a beautiful, beautiful thing, right? And it had a school in it too, right? Behind it, it had about a 7,000 square foot, 4 stories, each floor, a really big floor that had these louvered things so you could make 4 classrooms on each floor or have one big space, right? And in the basement, they had a community hall that could feed 500 people. They had like about 40 big tables that had 10 people at each table. They had gigantic kitchen, big 9-burner Garland stove, a couple of what are they, Bain Marie's, and walk-in fridge, and just a full Monty to cook out a lot of food. Never did, and so I stumbled into that place because John threw me out of the school. It was probably sometime before Christmas, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. It was cold, right? And I drove downtown, and I was hanging out at a place called the Texas Tavern, which is a hot dog stand that has stayed open since 1928, 365, 24/7, never closes, right? Not for Christmas, not for anything. And it has about 16 seats at the counter, and most of this in a window to go, and their own parking lot. And I pulled in there, and I set up camp, and I was there for 2 days. And this guy Tim, whatever his name is, one of the usual suspects, who said he was a Christian minister, and that he had a nonprofit called Reach, that college kids would come and he would put them and have them experience poor people, right? All really did was whatever church he was hanging with, he would have them sleep on the floor, and then go fill the shelves with cans that they would get from whatever supermarket, you know, all the cans that were dented that, the supermarket couldn't sell, they would put up there and give to poor people. And his real shtick was he then got buildings from the city for nothing in really bad neighborhoods and rehab them, right? And he'd have these college kids doing the demo, breathing asbestos, getting rusty nails in their foot. I mean, he had nothing, hard hats, no goggles, no gloves. He had a free work source. He got paid $300 for each kid that he'd have there for 2 or 3 days, and they could, mark off on their little thing of what their experience. Oh wait, I did community service. No, David, read out brilliant lecture. Yeah. So guys, give us a little. Those are all good. See, audience, you can go see what the guys are saying and check it out. What I'm talking about is exactly what they're talking about, but more in a personal experience, right? And so I was just, you're lonely, not lonely, you're simple, not simple, individual. Yes, that's it. Sensei Al Bob, right? And so Tim says, I just got this great gig. I'm going to be the pastor at this church downtown, and they only got 12 guys. It seats 400 people, and it's a great church. It's a CCC, yeah, first FCC, yeah. And I said, what are you going to do with it? He goes, I don't know, but I want you. You can be my community outreach guy. You do that so well. I said, David Icke. I love David. So all these guys are mentioning, I used to go see at conferences from 72 to 92, right? And I was one of the first guys not doing what they did. I mean, I never had a specific thing. Like David Icke is all about the reptiles. And I mean, David's books are great. They all write books, right? And I was writing for other people. So my writing thing was going in other directions. So like I used to work for an entity that was the Tavistock Institute. And those guys invented propaganda, like at the turn of the 19th century, 20th century, right? This guy named Bernays, right? And a few others. And they worked both sides of the fence for the Nazis and for the English and the Americans, right? And after World War II, they turned that into modern advertising, right? All of this stuff was known. The Greeks knew about it. Definitely the Babylonians, the Hittites, the Mesopotamians, all those guys had that understanding of the psyche, right, and how to manipulate it, right? And they did it in ceremony. That's if you read the old part of the Bible, Old Testament, and where God goes in, amazing detail on how He wants the house for His sepulcher. Real definition of what materials, how big to the cubic, and blah 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 blah. And all of that was a basic mystic ceremony to take over people's consciousness, just like the Oracle at Delphi. So anyway, and that's what I'm saying here, basically, is that nothing has changed. It's the same old same. We're stuck in the same place. Cliff High. Now I love Cliff. Cliff he's the first guy really to come out and say what was going on with the thingamajig, the 19th thing. And so, and everything else, he got into the newbies, and I mean, he got into a really interesting. Cliff is a real scholar, right? And he is a real mathematician, demographer. That's kind of where I met him at a conference. When I was a demographer who looked at everything, not just a specific thing, but everything, because everything's interconnected. And then I would talk to the guys who were looking at specific stuff, and see how to plug the both in. And that was the missing thing. And that's what AI does. General AI looks at everything. That's why it can do what it does that we can't do. It looks at everything. The closest thing to, you know, general AI in human form is me. I'm a griot. There's not too many of us left, right? Joseph Campbell was one of those guys. He was probably one of my best teachers, right? I would sit at his feet. And George Lucas was right there. Hey, who are you? And George took everything that Joseph said and turned it into Star Wars. That's exactly what happened to our solar system, right? The Death Star, that's our moon. So all of these things are understood. All our, Element C and all the different governments are connected by this temple of esoteric oligarchy, right? And so and I call it the hidden hand, and I say they have this script that everyone's, because you look at the war in Ukraine, how could a moron like me say this is what's going to happen? Like 3 years ago, I said it actually in 2014 when, so it's minded back to me at the First Christian's Church. So they let me in there, Timmy boy says, "Oh, you got a place to stay?" I said, "Yeah, here at the hot dog." I said, "No." So he takes me to the church. He takes me up to the belfry. He goes, "You can stay up here, right?" And it was like a big closet with a thing at top, and there were beds, not beds, but mattresses up there. So I made myself a nice little place, brought my stuff, stuck it up there. And he goes, no one comes up here. And he goes, there's really only 12 people left in this church. And they're all the people on the board. And they've hired me to relive, I'm in my 40s. I'm going to, and I have kind of thing as a missionary. And so I'm going to, spark this place up. But I don't know how. You do. So you be the community. But here's the key to the place. You can't come in here until after 8 o'clock. Don't turn on any lights. And you have to be out by 6 in the morning. That's when the old ladies show up at 7, right? So they can't find you here, right? So I basically said sure because it was it was top of the belfry. All the heat of that building went right at that belfry. No matter how cold it was out there, it was toasty up there. So I did that, and so I'm there for the So I come down. He goes, so Monday, meet me back at the in the parking lot in your car, and then I'll come in and introduce you to ladies who come here at 7, right? And then you do your thing. You sit there and talk to them, read their palms, get them to love you, and then we'll go on from there. So I did, got everyone, right? That first Sunday, I showed up an hour before Tim did, right? And those 12 people were there, and I went around and I talked to them. So, how was your week? And how you doing? And, oh, I got this pain in my shoulder, and I would adjust it. Oh, wow, it feels really good. Keep rubbing it. So I did that at first Sunday. And they all said, "Well, Tim is smart to have you to help him as a volunteer." And I said, "Yeah." They didn't pay me a nickel, so I basically, was doing that, and then I went around and talked to different people, all the different churches. I had some cards printed up saying that I was the community outreach guy and Tim's the minister, and so went to all the churches, right? And I had already gotten into the Black community by doing this thing called community cultivators, and we did a outreach where we got 100 people good paying jobs, right? Whereas the Goodwill had a job fair every year and never got anybody a job. When the first time out, we got 100 people a job where they were making $35K a year, right? So because it was already been a few years out from '08, and people needed people to work for them and they couldn't find them. So anyway, I started working. I had worked at the mission, which is for homeless people, and I kind of got fired from that job because I was getting the people in the mission, the homeless people, jobs, education, and their own place to live. And I got fired because they no, We need these people. We get $50,000 a year for each by the head of keeping these people here. We want them on drugs. We want them alcoholics. We want them to be coming out of jail. We don't want them employed, and we don't want them to have their own place, and we don't want them off drugs. So I got fired. I mean, again, that was another place. I was like taking over their whole scene and not really getting paid because I was actually working for another guy, being an electrician, rewiring the whole place, right? So even though they said stop doing that, I was still there as an electrician. I kept doing this. They didn't really pay me, right? Uh, uh, so you have to realize the United States has been around 240 plus years, give or take, right? Of all those years, the United States has been at war except for 2 years, and not in line. All the little month here, 3 weeks there. When you put all those things, that's 2 years. The rest of the time we've been at war. You know, we had the Revolutionary War, then War of 1812, and all the time we were having war of genocide of the indigenous people, and then we had, as we pushed west, we kept conquering indigenous people and Europeans who were in our way, like the French. We got the, what's his name was the French little guy was stuck in Russia, needed some money, so he sold us New Orleans and everything in between, and we threatened him with war if he didn't, right? And the Russians, we got Alaska, you know, and and that is what the United States has been, and we have been the hidden hands bully boy. There's three legs to the hidden hand. There's the Vatican, there's the city of London, and there is the District of Columbia. So, and that's what rules the physical products that rule the world. And everything that everyone in the chat is talking about, yeah, the victim needs to be informed, but not with words, right? Important part of black mass power. Yep. Symbols. Look at our dollar bill, right? To all. Very. Yep. Hollywood. What's Hollywood? But holly is the wood that's used in magic wands. I mean, it's all right in front of our face. Disney is one. Woo. Go look at his early cartoons. From Mickey Mouse to the 1950s. Especially when you have crowd scenes and it like pans into like a town or a village or a neighborhood, and there are things going on in the windows. Go, put it on pause and see what they're doing in those windows. Which is only a few frames, and if you're watching the whole thing, you don't even notice, right? And they were really big into that black and white thing, that the what's his names have Masons, all their temples have black and white square tiles on the floor. Identical. Yeah. You should take a look at a picture of Albert, what's his name? The guy who started the Southern Guild of the, basically took over who is the Illuminati. Albert Pike, maybe? Anyway, that guy. And see how much he looks like me. That's what. So I didn't belong. I was part of many, many, many esoteric and technical service organizations, NGOs, and things like the Pool Society, the ISIS Foundation, CFR, Council of Foreign Relations, Tavistock Institute, Bureau of Behavioral Investigation, a bunch, right? And I never was an employee, and I was a consultant. That's what I was, right? So I got kind of paid off the books. And that allowed me to not have to be involved in their personal politics. And I had access to a lot of stuff that most people wouldn't, even if they belonged to the organization, because I was working for the top dogs who wanted to know X, Y, and Z, and they wanted my way of looking at things outside the box, right? Every time I go get a job with any of this, I don't really have, a curriculum vitae. But I mean, I kind of do. I got a big list of people. Call this guy, call that guy, talk to this person, talk to that person, and that's usually how I get employed. I work for somebody high up in the hand, and they said, my buddy over here, he needs somebody like you. I work there. And I need something else. So I did that for 30, 40 years. Well, 30 years. And then I worked for the corporate scene, where, again, I was still a consultant. I wasn't on any, I got no W-2. And so, and pretty much everywhere I was, I had to first and foremost sign not only a non-disclosure form, but a contract. Different than a non-disclosure form. It was a contract that was very, very, very specific, right? Great study. Yep. So, all of this stuff is pretty right in front of us, right in our face every day. And everyone, and John Birmingham, his last video is a perfect example of John is the poster boy of what's going on to the human race on this planet. All I can think about is his own peripheral, right? His own, it's just about him. It's all about him, right? You'd say anything to him, and you saying that I suck? I talked to him the other day. Oh, talk about that. Let's jump in the swimming pool. See if the boy answers. Ring it in. Ring it in. See if he answers. Come on, John, answer. You're probably watching the video. Come on, this is your big shot to be a star. Come on, John. Answer the phone.
Please leave your message.
So anyway, that's kind of, and our cadre here is laying down some pretty great stuff. So Israel, right? Israel is exactly a good example of this. When the Jewish crew, ACRAP or ASAP or whatever those guys have more power within. Here we go. Put this guy out.
Stop using gas station air pumps to fill up your tires.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Serious.
And then secondly, because Harry Truman's political advisors told him that if you recognize the independence of the state of Israel, we will have unlimited quantities of money at our disposal for the Democratic Party in perpetuity. It turns out that they were largely correct. Enormous quantities of Jewish money have been poured into various political entities in the United States to maintain this relationship and sustain effectively Israel's stature and influence inside the United States. And that's worked very well. But at this point, we're a little different than we were, say, 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. If you go back through Israel's previous campaigns, previous wars, Israel was always restrained by presidents who intervened, as Eisenhower did in 56, and said, we're not going to underwrite your conquest of the Suez, in other words, of the Sinai Peninsula. And the Israelis had come into the Suez project along with the British and the French, who were interested in regaining control of the Suez Canal, and Eisenhower threw them out and said, no, and you Israelis cannot have the Sinai Peninsula. Again, in 1967, Lyndon Johnson supported them, but Lyndon Johnson also made it clear that there were limits to how much support he was willing to provide. Finally, you get Richard Nixon in 1973 when the Israelis initially were attacked by the Egyptians and the Syrians managed to throw them back. The Egyptians were the toughest nut to crack because they had simply crossed the canal and set up a defense, had not tried to maneuver. And the Israelis had enormous difficulties with that defense, but eventually they broke through and managed to cross the Suez Canal and come in behind the Egyptians. When that happened, Richard Nixon made it clear that's unacceptable. You're going to have to pull back across the Suez Canal, or we won't be able to negotiate an end to this. We might end up at war with Russia. And so the Israelis eventually withdrew and retired back behind the Suez Canal. And we got the Camp David Accords and built, at least for the past 50 years, a very good relationship between Egypt and Israel. Well, here we are again, and we're dealing with another Israeli government, only this time the government has said, we want to finally, once and for all, settle accounts with these Muslim Arabs in Gaza. It's not enough to destroy Hamas. We have to eliminate the foundation for Hamas. And that foundation are the 2.2 million Arabs living inside the Gaza Strip. And no one has stood up and said, I'm sorry, but eliminating the 2.2 million people from this Gaza Strip is unacceptable. We won't underwrite it. We won't support it. That is something that we have opposed repeatedly. We opposed so-called ethnic cleansing in Bosnia-Herzegovina. We've opposed ethnic cleansing in Africa. How can we now stand up and support what effectively is ethnic cleansing of people in Palestinians in Gaza? So this is a tough nut to crack because what's different today is that I think Mr. Netanyahu has more influence and authority on the Hill than President Biden.
Wow.
President Biden's government is really lost. They don't seem to know what to do. Every time Blinken opens his mouth and makes some policy pronouncement, President Netanyahu contradicts him and tells him absolutely not. That's not what we are going to do. Most recently, it was in the event this war ends and Gaza is devoid of Hamas, then we're going to retain control of it. We'll police it. That is the Israelis. And Blinken had previously made a statement that they were looking for a different solution. It would not involve Israeli control of Gaza. So I think it's pretty clear that thanks to the power and influence that Israel has won over many decades through its lobby in Washington has paid off. And right now, Mr. Netanyahu is clearly in charge. And this is a very dangerous situation for a great power like the United States, because do we want to be dragged into a potential regional war with virtually everyone in the region?
And it blows my mind that only 13% of seniors have
Yeah, it goes on. So that's Colonel Douglas McGregor. Go look him up. He's quite good. He has lots of insights on Ukraine, right? And pretty much all you have to do is step back a little bit and see what's going on in the world. And he's been in the military in that scene his whole career. So he kind of knows the usual suspects, right? And and he, I would say, gives 80% of what's really going on. Never talks about the hidden hand, never talks about the occult, never talks about any of those. He kind of dances around those little edges, but he never goes there. I can, right? And I dance around the little edges too. I don't really, like all the people that you have identified here in the chat, those people very seriously go deep. I mean, a dark journalist is, Daniel is a straight up amazing guy, because that's all he does with his life. And that's cool. If I have any great plus and a minus is that I've always had the ability to get pretty good at something relatively quickly, right? I could get up to speed relatively quickly. And I would stay involved very passionately for however long I got to where I wanted to be. And then I just didn't want to like sit around on my laurels. I'd go on to something new, right? Like when I was a healer, right, in New York, and I had a really good practice. And this is way before anything got licensed. I mean, if you're a massage, you didn't need a license. Any alternative, anything. It wasn't even on the radar. There was no licensing whatsoever. And I was teaching at the Swedish Institute of Massage. I was their alternative medicine guy. The whole department, I put it together, right, from all the people I knew. And in New York, there were, little Chinatown. I mean, every little whatever was, there were some healers that were Italian I knew over in Little Italy. One's Irish guy, and I knew all those guys and gals, and put it together. And I was part of the Theosophical Society, so I knew that esoteric stand. I was part of the ISIS Foundation, which kind of was I don't even know how to describe them. They had one foot in the UN and one foot into things like Weiser's bookstore. I mean, they just kind of hung there, but they funded them. Weiser's would have never existed without their money. And so I was part of all of that, right? And in all of those different institutions and things, I would have a mentor who said, "Yeah, we need this kid," right? When I was, and for a good 20 years, I was known as the kid with the dude, right? That was my title. And as I got older, the doctor, I kept the dude for a long time. Now I'm the sensei, or Sensei Al Bob, they said, "Oh, fine," because I don't care about exactly my career, because everything I do, like right now, I'm out in the woods, really, oh, isn't it too bad you're a homeless guy? No, I'm not homeless. I have a nice little camp that's quite nice, and I got everything I need. I got solar power. I got a nice spring. I'm like, if there was nuclear war tomorrow, I'd survive. Pretty much everybody would. If asteroid hit something, I'd still be there because I'm at the deep, deep, deep part of this holler of this mountain range. It would take a lot to, get me. So I'll be hanging around after the cataclysm, and I'll be there to help, do my best, right? And that's all we can do is our best. We're here to do our best. So look, 38 minutes and 39 seconds. I love it when that happens. It's like one of those synchronistic moments. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland. Sensei Al Bob. There's 7 of you there. How about let's get 7 thumbs up. Come on. My PayPal is like, it's there, but they want me to, be able to scrape my everything, so, or pay them money, or, so the measly, there were a few of you who sent something in, you know, all from last Thanksgiving to today, I received maybe $112. And there's one guy who sends me $17, kind of pretty much almost every month. And he was my dependable. And there were a couple others. So, but about 112. But so it doesn't matter. It was nice. It's like, oh, look. And so, but it's there. And once I figure out how to get PayPal back being obedient to me, and easily swinging that loose change in my direction. Don't worry about it. Just, please. But you can get a hold of me at my email. I'd love to hear from you there. Oh, look. I wonder who that is. Come on, answer the phone. I can't answer the phone. Oh, that's because I grabbed the wrong phone. See who was calling? Oh, Max. Hey, I missed you. I didn't quite get to it. Yeah. So I talked to T. So she's here. I didn't talk to her. I left her a message, and she said you dropped some goodies off. So someday this week we'll get together. And how's tricks with you? Oh, good. That's good. Okay. And it was a good week. It was kind of clear and semi-warm, right? Yeah. Oh, that's good. Now, if the winter could stay this way for the rest of winter, I'd be fine. Yeah. Yeah. Right. No, I'm still here. It's just sometimes if I don't get out and about, I don't always get a cell signal over there. Right. And the fact I don't really have a car makes it harder to get out and about. A buddy of mine has lent me his vehicle every now and then, which is good. That's what I'm doing right now. And yeah, so it's good. Are you doing anything for Turkey Day, or just you and the sweetie just taking it easy? Oh, that's good. That's a good one. Mm-hmm. Right. Well, I mean, that's pretty much everything in the universe. So it's like it's like a spiritual challenge to live in the material world today. So are they? Around here they're going gangbusters with putting up 5G everywhere. Yes, and it's kind of like the Three Stooges because whoever is doing it, there is no singular. It's not like AT&T or MCI or somebody is doing it. Some entity is doing it, and they have many subcontractors. And those subcontractors subcontracted to other people who subcontracted. So it's the lowest common denominator that are putting this stuff up. And what was that comic strip where it was all about Appalachian folk and Granny was smoking a corncob pipe? Little Abner. Yeah. Okay. No, that's nice. Right. Right. Well, we can always use that. And, I have so many cords. If you ever want one, I've got a ton of them. Yeah, I got a ton of everything. Exactly. Where it is, I have no idea. But whenever I do need it, I just go, where is it? And I'll put my hand down someplace. Oh, look, there it is. Ooh, you can buy a new car for that. Uh, yeah, put a junction, a 1900 box with 4 plugs. Yeah. Well, I'm going to let you go, Slim. I'm alive, and I'm going to try. I've left T a few messages, so I'm going to try. Depending on the weather, it looks like it's supposed to rain all freaking week. Yeah, but who knows? It's like it was supposed to be torrentially downpour last night, and it just sprinkled. Huh. Well, they were calling for it. Right. Yeah. Okay. You got a good. Yeah. Well, we got like just sprinkles, not really. Yeah. And that's the weather around these mountains. It's it bounces all over the place. No. Did you guys? No. Yeah. I know they're all on the grid. Yep. No, it's going to be interesting. I mean, that's why I live where I live. I don't care what happens. I've got it taken care of. Exactly. I have like 5 different water sources. Yep. I could eat. Whatchamacallit, what's the stuff that grows around me? The big leafy thing. Yeah. I could eat that all. Yeah. 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 And it's all over my place. Well, okay, handsome. Like I said, I'm gonna try and hook up a tea after Thanksgiving. We can hook up, and we'll go from there. Say hi, dear sweetie, and I love you. You have a good fried chicken. Yeah, bye. So that's an old friend. And now that guy, he's an interesting guy because he has been right at the tip of everything strange, everything that goes bump in the night. And he was a colonel in many different militaries, and he was their going bump in the night guy. And over the years, I mean, 50 years, we kept ending up in the same bump in the night places, and he'd be like with the uniform on, and I'd be looking like me, and we'd kind of look at each other. And it wasn't until about 25 years ago when we both kind of retired in this neck of the woods. And one day I was at the electric supply place looking for an electrician to work for, and he came in, and it was just him and me. He goes, "Don't I know you?" And I said, "Yeah, we've always seemed to bump in the night." And he was like, "Yeah," and we became buds. He said, "You do anything now?" I said, "Nope. I need a hand with some." Oh, good. So did that, helped him out. We wired up a factory, and so we became best of buds, and we would tell each other stories, and half of them we ended up being at. Oh, I would say, remember that? Yeah, well, yeah, and then that happened. Yes, and it was like we solidified the experience as we really did experience it. It wasn't just a daydream or a nightmare. And it's like there's this thing called the Mandela effect, right? Have any of you guys experienced that? That's when something happens and you think it happened this way, And then you'll hear other people talk about it like it happened in another way. And then other people will say, no, that never happened. That's a Mandela effect. Let's see. Oh, we'll give Johnny Boy another try. Like I said, he's the poster boy of what's going on. Oh, there he is. Hey, buddy.
Hello?
So I watched your video. So you going back to Virginia? John? Yoo-hoo. John.
Hi.
Hi. You still in bed? I like the way you colored your hair. That's very cool. How you feeling?
I've been trying to lose the weight that I gained in Virginia.
Well, you know, how I kind of keep my weight the same is that I don't eat much, and I walk a lot. So I don't do any push-ups or jumping jacks or any of those things. I just walk a lot, and I don't eat much. And I don't eat. I wake up, I pray, I meditate, I read the Bible, then I exercise, and that's usually about an hour and a half. And then maybe I'll have a cup of tea, and maybe I'll have a poached egg, and that's it. And then I'll go off and do whatever I'm going to do. And then I have my daily meal, somewhere between noon and 3. Then after that, I don't eat anything. I don't eat anything for at least 4 hours before I go to sleep. And if you don't eat anything, then there's nothing in your gut. So it can't be metabolized into fat. So, that seems to work pretty good for me. And there's been enough science done about it that it's a pretty, you don't have to go to any extremes. You just walk a good deal, and you don't eat much, and you don't eat at these specific times. And that way, and also I drink a glass of water before I go to sleep. So that's my way of, and I'm at about 190 right now. I've been at 190 now, well, between 190 and 210 for the last 3 years. Right? Haven't gone up, haven't gone down, and I can pretty much eat whatever I want to eat. Just not a lot of it. Like a friend of mine took me out to lunch the other day, and we went to a nice restaurant. I had a nice meal, and I actually had a nice dessert. I had a glass of wine. No big deal. My blood sugar didn't even go up.
Okay.
So it's all moderation and staying at a homeostasis, a balance. It's the unbalance that our body doesn't like. That seesaw back and forth. Right? So are you going to stay in LA and get involved in the movie industry?
Maybe.
Well, that'd be a good idea. You're there, And I wouldn't go back to Virginia. What do you got to go back for? It's got to be cold, right? So least what's the temperature there now in LA? What, 80, 70? It's a lot warmer than it is here on the East Coast. Though it is nice. Yesterday was a beautiful day. Last week was a beautiful week. But it's supposed to rain all week long. And so I would stay in California. I would go for it, buddy. Go for the gusto. What do you got to lose? Nothing. What do you got to gain? Everything. So that's a good place to be. You are in a very good place. If you do this, if you go for it, go down, go get the thing, the newspaper that has all the, looking for this person to act for that, and go for tryouts, and just go. Don't expect to get anything. Just go for the experience. Bring your phone and videotape as much of it as you can, and then edit it up into something interesting for the YouTube. That would give you something to do. That would exercise your creative muscles, and who knows? Because John, you have a lot of talent, and to not use it is a waste. So go use it. Get out of bed. Have you talked to your kids lately? You're not too far to them. It's a little airplane ride from LA to where your kids are. Go visit them. Go visit them for Thanksgiving. That would be fun. That'd be interesting. It's what are you going to do? You're going to stay in that one room. So I see that you got a big screen TV there. Is that hooked up to platforms? Can you watch movies? What's the last movie you watched? What do you think of all these new platforms bringing out films?
I usually haven't watched TV or movies in the past 8 years.
How come you're a movie maker?
10 years.
Don't you-
Because I studied movies and learned about movies so much that I got tired of watching them, and somehow I started going on the internet instead, and my videos were being paid more because they didn't pay me well enough for my films. So it was something I could work at. Well, it just is. I like being with my wife and kids, but I don't know.
So go
if
be
she's
with
gonna
them
be
this
with me or
Thanksgiving.
not, and it
Go
just
be with them this Thanksgiving. Get on an airplane and show up. And be thankful that you're with your kids. It's not about you. It's being with your kids. See what that would do. See what kind of
she's been
response that would
funny.
be. What'd you say?
Never mind.
Well, there's so much you can do, John. Just get out there and do it. And you'll have fun doing it. When you're not thinking about yourself and you're in the moment, that's what God has given us, the moment, not the past and not the future, but the moment.
It's a strict. I can't say it. I can't say it. I almost was gonna say something about. I was gonna say, it's a strict feeling shit ass world.
Not really. It's a beautiful, God-given, loving world. And we can choose either that world that you just mentioned or God's unconditional love. We have a choice. I have very, very little in the material sense, but I have a lot in love sense. Right?
Okay.
So You know, we all have the choice to pick what we want to be and what we want to do. And whatever turns out in our life really is no one's fault except our own. You know, we can't blame anybody but ourselves. Period. That's it. So, John, you're a good soul. All you have to do is be yourself. You don't have to be anything but yourself. So go out there and be yourself.
I'm alive and well.
Yeah,
I have a body too.
right. Well, the body is more a simulation of an experience. It's not who you are. Your body is not who you are. If you read the Bible, it pretty much speaks to that fact that it is, you know, our body isn't who we are. Because our body, in reality, because it responds to stimulus in certain ways. You know, in the Old Testament, it pretty much goes on and on and on what a sinner we are, right? And it's because our body responds to stimulation, and if we're not in conscious intent of God's unconditional love, we will respond in a sinful way. Pretty much, it's, you know, it's just biology. So
You know what happened?
what happened?
I went out for a jog. I was working out a bunch. And I stopped eating food. And here and there, I had some food because I had to sleep for some reason, never mind. So I was working really hard at working out and not eating, and trying. And if I did eat, I ate healthy, but it's a really small amount. And compared to how heavy weights I was lifting and stuff. And then I went out for a jog, and I finally got light enough that not finally, but I got light enough to where I could actually jog again in the sun, and I missed doing that. And I used to really like doing that, and I'd been too heavy and rode up, so I worked really hard at getting to do the thing, to do what I like to do, which is like actually look okay and feel good about myself, because then I feel like people actually love me and stuff. Because when I was a kid, I didn't have the confidence you did. Like I know you had confidence in your looks when you're a young man, up until I guess your 40s, when you gained weight. You had confidence, and it wasn't an issue for you. So it was something
John,
I had to work.
I never thought about it. Even when I got really heavy, I didn't think about it. I was just me. I never thought of my body, meaning I had no idea.
Well, I know when you were heavy, that didn't feel very good to have women look at you like, ooh.
No,
like
women
that.
looked at me like, let's get it on, baby, because they weren't looking at my body. No,
I think you felt bad about it.
No, John, when I was 56, I had a girlfriend who was, I had a couple of girlfriends who were just unbelievably gorgeous and sexy and horny for me, right? Because it wasn't about my flabby body. It wasn't about my flabby body. The sex we were having was about our spirit. It was about our
You sound
spirit.
like Howard Stern. You probably...
But so, when I was a little kid, I never thought about my body, or when I was thinking about electricity, I was thinking about time machines. I was thinking about God. I had no idea about, when I was between the ages of 15 and 32.
Howard Stern looked really creepy in the 90s. One time I saw him in this MTV special, and he had a bald head, and he had like German sunglasses, and he was like he was almost naked, and he kept walking around and like interviewing people, and he was he
Yeah.
had a bald head, but he wasn't in the best shape because he was kind of like a little out of shape, but he was
He
tall
was
and
a lot of
skinny.
out of shape. I knew Howard Stern in New York. He was, he was kind of he was really ridiculous.
But
He
he
was
looked so weird.
unbelievably
Like
tall.
I didn't know what kind of things he
Yeah,
liked
he
to
was
do or
unbelievably
something.
tall.
Because
Keep going, John. Keep telling us about John's Robert Stern. Whatever that guy's name is. So what kind of I'm going full Monty. So keep going, John.
Well, so what I did was I worked out a bunch and tried to look as good as I was able to for like a week, a few days, and then and I went out for a walk and I could jog, and I was able to jog because I got light enough, and I was light enough to jog, which is a miracle because I was heavy in Virginia. I was afraid to jog because I didn't want it to hurt my knees.
Right.
And I was able to jog now. I got light enough. And so then I got the thought of somebody like, because I stood right out in the street corner where all these cars could see me. And at first, sometimes I felt like really athletic and good looking at first, but then I couldn't find my way where I was. I couldn't find what street I was trying to get back to the Airbnb, and I didn't know where I was. I thought, oh no, I might have to walk. Who knows how long it might hurt, or I didn't know what was going to happen, and I didn't even know where I was, like how to get back to the place. And then so I started feeling bad, and it like made my body look worse. For some of it, I could just feel the way it was when I was standing there. I wasn't as confident and stuff, and so I had to stand like right on the street corner while I wasn't feeling as confident with no shirt on and these little shorts, and I got like bright yellow shorts, and and I stood on the street corner because I had to walk across the street and I didn't know where else to stand, and the sun was shining bright right on me and everyone could see me. But it wasn't really that bright sun. I didn't get that much sun. I got home in time before it got too much sun, and then I thought, maybe I still look good enough because I've been working out so much. And then I got the thought when I got home that I got the thought of somebody who watched me, and I got the thought when I was laying in bed from them, like I got the thought of somebody like saying I looked right at him, and they thought that I looked fat as crap, and out of nowhere I thought I still looked okay the whole time I was out there because I got in good shape.
Aroused by you.
And I got the thought of them acting like
looking for a trick.
No, I got the thought of them acting like I had really fat boobs hanging down, and they tried to cut them off and to say that I was too fat, and they tried to act like I lose weight and just should be cut off boobs because they were so fat or something, like some mean person who thought they're into
you were doing great.
Body.
You were jogging. You were in good shape. What's the problem?
Well, there are people who are critical about the way I look, and they didn't make me feel as good. But it's not that important. I feel like my physical shape, I got to actually jog and stuff like that. It's a miracle, and it didn't hurt my legs. And there are other people who have worse problems. Like I was worrying about if someone had cancer out there, or if they were in a wheelchair or really old. And one time I had to act really old again, and that felt awful. When near the end of the jog, when I was almost home, I got the feeling like I was interested in maybe singing on a stage. It would have been so fun. But for God and Jesus, I had to right then. I had to act like I was really old, as my dad. And then I was like out in plain day in Los Angeles in a kind of good neighborhood or where cars are driving around. And so it was like, and then I got the thought from some car driving by, like, you missed your chance. You missed your chance. An agent or somebody like that could have seen you and recognized you and given you an acting role or something like that. But I was like, it didn't matter anyway. I had to accept that and try to look like I was like really, I had to act like I was really old, like 77 or 78. Not that old, but, because there are people in their 80s who still look okay and they're healthy. Some people in their 80s, they still, I don't know, but, and I don't know. And so I had to act really old at the end of it. It didn't make me feel as good, but it was okay. I was happy to do it because I knew that's what God wanted me to do.
Why did?
Because
God
I am
want you to do
46,
that?
and
Why did God want you to do that?
because it was the right thing to do. I don't know why, but it was the right thing to do. Like maybe somebody else driving by would have been like so devastated that they thought how old they were and they would have died or killed themselves or who knows what, and it gave somebody a boost, or I don't know what a boost is, but maybe it made somebody feel happy. Oh, a boost seat that they give little kids in the restaurant. That's something different. But it made like maybe it made somebody feel happier, and I had to act old with all I had when I was coming out to Los Angeles in my 40s now and trying to look as good as I can. And I've been working at looking as good as I was able to. And then I had to, for God, I had to just act as old as not as old as possible, but like 77, my dad's age. I'd act just like my dad. And then like it made other people feel like, oh, okay. They felt like it was good. They felt like that's good. Like maybe for some reason it was what God wanted me to do. And so, and then after that, it just made me, it kept saying things like I had been too selfish. I kept getting the thought from some guy talking, or he was talking out loud across the street, and he was like, he felt like, I was past my prime and it was too late to be a famous person or something like that, even though I've worked at this for 30 years, longer than Rip Van Winkle when he woke up and was old after 20 years. But thank God I'm not as old as Rip Van Winkle because it happened because I've been working at that since I was a child, and I still have a chance to actually see my good things happen for me, that for my work that I do, that God let me do really good work in movies, and I'm good at that kind of work. And so
go out and do it, John. You're in California, you're in LA.
Yeah,
Go in and where they're having open calls for parts, just do it.
Yeah, just go there.
Yep, just go do it.
No, don't go there. Yeah, great.
And enjoy the moment. Don't feel self-conscious. Just go and do it and have a good time doing it. Don't even worry about getting a part. Just go off and do your best and have a good time.
Well, look how old Joaquin Phoenix looked in the Joker. He had a kind of old-looking face with all that makeup on it, but it made him look older. But I haven't watched that movie because I thought it was bad and scary, so I didn't want to watch that movie because I thought it was bad.
He's in a new movie where he's playing Napoleon.
I think it's kind of cool that he gets to play the Joker now, but it's too bad.
He's actually in a new movie.
He crashed after he made the first Joker, and he gained weight, and he looked worse, and he felt bad. Like it was like he won the Academy Award when it first came out, and then he crashed. Well, I guess he doesn't have any real problems anyway. He's a famous actor, and what problems would somebody like that
I'm sure
have?
he has a lot of problems. People, doesn't matter whether they're famous or not famous, their problems, they're still a human being, right?
Are you recording this?
Yep, you're live on the internet.
Okay.
You are there on Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob, and the cadre is here with us. And I'm eating some vanilla ice cream with chocolate sauce.
No. Oh. No. I don't want to eat any of that ice cream or anything like that.
Oh, good. Don't eat it. I don't eat it every day. I have it once in a while. And when I do eat it, I eat it slowly and enjoy every bite. I savor it. And it's going to be my last bite of ice cream. And I won't eat any more ice cream again. And usually I don't for a while. And then when I have the opportunity, I have it. And like I don't eat the whole thing. Like I'm not going to eat the rest of this. Well, John left the screen. No, go back. And you're back. Anyway, I hope you're doing well. I hope you enjoy this week. I hope you get out and do stuff you haven't been doing. So you stay well, my friend. You want anything to say? No? Yes? You there, John? Okay. Well, that was John Boy. And we've been doing this now an hour and 17 minutes. There's 9 of you there. Come on, some more thumbs up, guys. Come on. Ice cream. Ice cream is love, right? But, just eat a little bit. I'll have one of these things maybe once, twice a month. Then it's really good. Strangely soft, smooth taste buds. Yep. It's interesting. Our mouth is the most absorbent part of our body. Meaning, if you really want that aspirin to work for you, swallow and put it under your tongue. Don't just knock it back into your tummy. It would only get 1/100th of what that aspirin could do. Whereas if you put it under your tongue and let it dissolve, your body will absorb most of it. Anyway, what else is there to say? So, thanks for coming on board. Tomorrow, maybe. After it's supposed to rain. I don't know if I'll do it. Okay. Talk to you later. Love you guys.